Okay, I have a scenario for you, and I want you to be honest.
Oh, I'm ready.
It's 11:30 at night. You are physically exhausted. Logically, you have that 8 a.m. meeting.
Yeah.
Your eyes are actually, like, burning. But you're lying in bed, just bathed in that blue light, scrolling.
The dreaded doom
We're
scroll.
doom scroll, and you keep telling yourself, okay, just one more video, just a quick email check. But 20 minutes later, you're still there. You are literally tired of being tired, but your thumb just won't stop.
Like it has a mind of its own.
It's like my hand has been hijacked.
It's not just you. I think, we all like to believe we're the masters of our own technology, but, well, the data suggests we are losing that fight pretty badly.
That is the terrifying realization I had prepping for today. We aren't just distracted. We're biologically outmatched.
We really are.
So today we are doing a deep dive into 3 massive sources. Dopamine Nation by Dr. Anna Lemke, Adam Alter's Irresistible, and The Molecule of More.
This is like the holy trinity of understanding why we physically cannot put our phones down.
And our mission today is pretty specific. We're not just going to bash technology. We need to understand the mechanism, under the hood. We're going to distinguish between cheap dopamine,
Bad stuff.
the stuff that ruins your focus and makes you anxious, and expensive dopamine, which I think might just be the secret to actually enjoying your life again.
It's the difference between a sugar crash and a runner's high.
Right.
But before we get to the solution, we have to look at the sheer scale of the problem.
Right. I was looking at the data from Kevin Holsch, the app developer from Irresistible. He created the Moment app to track screen time because he felt he was using his phone too much.
And what was his guess?
He guessed maybe an hour a day.
Which most people would say, yeah, that's reasonable.
The data showed he was averaging 3 hours. And that wasn't an outlier. That became the average for his users. We think we're just dipping in for a minute, but we are losing literally 1/8 of our entire day.
3 hours a day is almost a full day of work every single week. But the reason isn't because we're lazy. It's because the smartphone is, as Dopamine Nation puts it, the modern-day hypodermic needle.
Wow. That is a violent image.
It is, but it's chemically accurate. We've wired an entire generation to a device that delivers digital dopamine 21/7. It's a continuous, hardline drip of stimulation.
Okay, I want to push back on that a little bit, though, because addiction it's a heavy word. Are we really saying scrolling Instagram is the same as, I don't know, a drug addiction?
The biological mechanism is shockingly similar. In Irresistible, they mentioned that 41% of people reported a behavioral addiction in the past year. But to understand why, you have to look at what dopamine actually is.
Right. Most people think it's the pleasure molecule. I eat a cookie, I get dopamine, I feel happy.
That is the single biggest misconception in neuroscience. Dopamine isn't pleasure. Dopamine is craving. It's the universal currency of the hunt. It's all about pursuit. It's about more.
So it's the engine that makes you go get the thing, not the feeling of enjoying the thing.
Precisely. Scientists use a process called microdialysis to measure this. They insert a tiny probe into the nucleus accumbens of a brain, usually a rat's brain, and they measure the chemical concentration in real time.
And these are the famous rat stats we have in the notes.
These numbers, they tell the whole story.
Yeah.
So baseline dopamine is just your normal everyday state. If you give a rat chocolate, dopamine shoots up by about 55% above baseline.
Okay, that's a nice little bump.
Sex, that's a 100% increase. Nicotine goes up to 150%. Cocaine hits 225%.
Whoa.
And amphetamines, get this, that is a 1,000% increase.
1,000%. That's not a bump, that's a rocket ship. That's biological chaos.
It is. Now, obviously, we can't stick a probe in a human brain while they're on TikTok, but the behavior suggests that modern tech creates these digital drugs that mimic the high-intensity spikes.
Like what?
A viral video, a flood of likes, a match on a dating app, these are rapid, high-intensity spikes. We're essentially freebasing information.
So we are walking around with a slot machine in our pocket that rivals hard drugs in terms of how it grabs our attention. But here's my question. If I'm getting all this dopamine, shouldn't I be the happiest person on earth? Why do I feel so miserable after a 2-hour scroll session?
This is the absolute crux of Dopamine Nation. Dr. Lemke uses this teeter-totter analogy. Imagine your brain has a balance scale inside it.
Okay, a teeter-totter. Got it.
On one side is pleasure, on the other is pain. When you do something addictive scrolling, the scale tips hard to the pleasure side. You get that little high.
Right.
But the brain's #1 goal is homeostasis. It wants to be level. It absolutely cannot survive if it's constantly tipped over.
So it fights back.
It fights back hard.
Yeah.
To level the scale, the brain exerts an equal and opposite force on the pain side. Lemke calls these the neuroadaptation gremlins.
Gremlins. Okay.
It's a metaphor for receptor downregulation. Basically, your brain sees this flood of dopamine, and it starts turning off the receptors. It's literally plugging its ears because the music is too loud.
So the weight on the pain side is actually my brain numbing itself to the pleasure.
Yes. And here is the catch. The gremlins, this downregulation, they don't just level the scale. They overshoot. They tip the scale all the way over to the pain side.
And that's the crash.
That's the come down. That's the irritability, the anxiety, that sudden feeling of, I need to do that again just to feel normal.
That explains the gross feeling. When I finally put the phone down at midnight, I don't feel satisfied. I just feel empty.
You are in a dopamine deficit state. The gremlins are camping out on the pain side. And the more cheap dopamine you consume, the more you scroll, the more gremlins your brain produces. Eventually, you aren't scrolling to feel good anymore.
You're just scrolling to stop feeling bad.
You are just trying to get back to zero. And this connects to that brilliant distinction in the molecule of more between control dopamine and desire dopamine.
I found this part fascinating, the idea that there are different circuits.
Right. You have your here and now molecules, serotonin, oxytocin, endorphins. These give you satisfaction in the present moment. That's liking. But dopamine is exclusively about the future. It's about what you don't have yet.
So desire dopamine makes you want the thing, but it has no ability to make you actually enjoy the thing.
It effectively shuts down the liking circuit. This explains why you can be watching a Netflix show that you objectively hate, but when that countdown circle appears for the next episode, you just let it play.
Ugh.
You are stuck in a wanting loop with no liking payoff.
That is the definition of the zombie scroll. The lights are on, but nobody is home.
And the tech companies know this. I mean, they're not designing for liking. They don't care if you enjoy the content. They're designing for wanting. They're designing for the chase.
Let's talk about how they do that, because Irresistible goes deep into this behavioral architecture. None of this is accidental.
Not at all. The most powerful example is the bottomless bowl study.
This was the soup experiment, right?
The soup experiment. Researchers put people at a table with a bowl of soup. Half the people had normal bowls. The other half had bowls that were secretly connected to a tube under the table that would slowly refill the soup as they ate.
That just sounds like a prank show setup.
It does, but the results were serious. The people with the bottomless bowls ate 73% more soup than the others.
73%.
But, and this is the key, they didn't feel more full. They just kept eating because the visual cue of finishing never actually happened.
So because the bowl never emptied, their brain never got the signal to stop.
And that is the infinite scroll. That is your social media feed. There are no stopping rules anymore. In the old days, you'd read the newspaper, you reached the bottom of the page, you folded it up, it was over. Now, autoplay, infinite scroll.
The bowl never empties.
So the gremlins never get a break.
It's horrifying when you put it that way. We're effectively eating digital soup until we explode, just because the spoon is still there.
And when we try to stop, when we try to push the bowl away, we run into another problem mentioned in the research, nomophobia.
That sounds like a completely made-up word.
It stands for no mobile phone phobia. It's the genuine physiological panic people feel when they're separated from their device.
Oh, I've felt that. The pat-down panic. You check your pocket, it's not there, your heart just stops for a second.
But the cost of connection goes even deeper. There was a study cited where they found that the mere presence of a phone on a table, even if it's silent, even face down, it reduces the depth of conversation and the level of empathy between two people.
Just having it on the table, that seems extreme. How does a piece of glass kill empathy?
Because it splits your attention. It creates a low-level desire dopamine loop. Part of your brain is constantly wondering, is there a notification? Who liked my post? You are physically present, but cognitively, you're halfway out the door.
We are trading deep empathy for cheap surface-level dopamine hits. Okay, so we've established that we are in trouble. We are drowning in cheap dopamine, our receptors are burned out, and we can't even have a conversation. How do we fix this? Because I can't just throw my phone in the ocean. I need it for work.
You're right, abstinence isn't always the answer. But resetting the balance is, we need to shift from cheap dopamine to what we call expensive dopamine.
Expensive dopamine. This was the big aha moment for me in the reading. Break that down.
So remember the teeter-totter? Cheap dopamine presses on the pleasure side, and the brain slams down on the pain side to compensate.
Right. The gremlins.
Expensive dopamine works the opposite way. You press on the pain side first.
You intentionally do something hard.
Yes. You intentionally introduce a stressor, and in response, The brain's homeostatic mechanism kicks in and releases its own dopamine to balance it out.
So instead of the gremlins causing a crash, the brain gives you a lift.
That's the mechanism. And the data on this is incredibly compelling. The most cited example, and I know you might hate this, is cold water immersion.
I knew it. Everyone's talking about the cold plunge. Is this just hype or is there actual science here?
Oh, the science is robust. A study found that submerging in 57-degree Fahrenheit water, which is cold but not dries, increased dopamine concentrations by 250%.
250%. Wait, that's higher than the cocaine stat we mentioned earlier.
It's in the same range, yes. But here's the crucial difference. Cocaine is a sharp, violent spike followed by a devastating crash. The cold water dopamine rose gradually and stayed elevated for hours afterward.
So you get the focus and the mood boost without the gremlin crash.
You pay the cost up front, that shock of the cold, and you get the reward later. That is expensive dopamine. Exercise does this. Tackling a really difficult mental task does this. It's the opposite of the buy now, pay later model of scrolling.
It's pay now, enjoy later.
Exactly.
But what if I'm too burned out to even get to the cold shower? What if I'm so deep in that dopamine deficit state that I just can't muster the willpower?
Then you need a hard reset. Dr. Lemke outlines a framework called Dopamine. It's an acronym for how to actually break the cycle.
Okay, let's unpack this one. The D stands for data, right?
D is for data. You can't fix what you don't measure. Look at your screen time stacks. Admit exactly how much you are using.
And O.
O is for objectives. Why do you want to stop? And it has to be more than just, I should. It needs to be, I want to be present for my kids, or I want to finally write that book.
Then comes P for pain.
Yeah, this is the one people always miss. You have to expect the withdrawal. You have to know that when you stop, it's going to hurt. The gremlins are going to scream. If you expect the pain, it doesn't surprise you.
Then A, abstinence.
This is the hard one. Lemke suggests a 30-day fast from your specific behavior. Not all tech, but your drug of choice. If it's Instagram, you delete the app for 30 days.
30 days seems like forever. Why not just a weekend?
Because of the biology. The research suggests it takes roughly 4 weeks for those gremlins to finally hop off the pain side of the scale and for your neurons to regenerate those receptors. You need that time to resensitize.
And during that time, mindfulness comes in.
This is the key skill. When the craving hits, you don't fight it. And you don't distract yourself. You surf the urge. You observe the physical sensation of wanting. My chest is tight. My hands are fidgety. You just watch it like a wave until it passes.
And that leads to eye insight.
Right. Once the fog clears after a few weeks, you gain insight into how much that habit was actually affecting you. You start to see the cost of connection clearly.
And finally, N, Winnie.
Next step's an experiment. You reintroduce the tech, but with new rules. You don't go back to the bottomless bowl. You set very clear boundaries.
That framework actually makes it feel manageable. It's not quit forever, it's reset the hardware.
Exactly. It's about reclaiming your biology.
So let's talk about those boundaries. The N and E. Once I'm back, how do I stop the slide back into the doom scroll?
You have to introduce friction. This is the 20-second rule from Irresistible.
I love this concept.
It's just simple physics. If you want to break a habit, make it 20 seconds harder to do. If your phone is in your pocket, the friction is 0. You're scrolling before you even think.
It's automatic. Muscle memory.
But if your phone is in the other room, or in a drawer, or turned completely off, that creates a gap.
And that 20-second delay is really enough.
It's often enough for your controlled dopamine, your prefrontal cortex, to kick in and say, wait, do I actually want to do this? It breaks the zombie loop.
So we are essentially designing our environment to protect us from ourselves.
We have to.
Yeah.
We are, as the analogy goes, cacti in a rainforest.
I wanted to get to this. It's such a perfect description of the modern condition.
Well, think about a cactus. It's biologically engineered for the desert. It's efficient. It hoards water because water is scarce. It's a survival machine.
Right.
But if you take that cactus and you put it in a rainforest where there is water everywhere,
It would die.
it rots. It dies. Not because it's broken, but because it's mismatched with this environment.
We are the cactus.
And the smartphone is the rainforest. We are evolved for scarcity. We are evolved to work hard for our dopamine hunting, gathering, building shelter. Now we live in a world of overwhelming, cheap, accessible abundance. We are rotting from the inside out because we are not built for this level of ease.
So the goal isn't to eliminate dopamine. It drives us. It's ambition.
Dopamine is the reason we went to the moon. It's the reason we create art. It's the molecule of more. We don't want to kill it. We want to harness it. We need to use control dopamine, our planning, our long-term goals, to manage the desired dopamine. We need to stop snacking on digital junk food so we actually have an appetite for a real meal.
I love that. Okay, so for the listener who is nodding along but maybe feeling a little called out right now,
We've all been there.
we always like to end with a challenge, something they can do today to start reclaiming that ground.
I've got two options for you. One is an expensive dopamine challenge, and one is a stopping rule challenge.
Let's hear them.
Option A, the stopping rule. The next time you sit down to scroll or watch videos, set a hard endpoint before you even start. Literally set a timer for 15 minutes. Or say, I will scroll until I finish this cup of coffee, and then the phone goes in the drawer.
You're manually putting a bottom on the soup bowl.
Exactly. You are creating a finish line so your brain knows when to disengage.
And option B.
Option B is for the brave. I want you to try one bout of expensive dopamine today. It could be the cold shower. Just end your normal shower with 30 seconds of cold. Or it could be a run that is slightly faster than you really want to go.
And what are we looking for? What's the goal?
Just notice the feeling afterward. Compare that calm, steady focus, that quiet hum of satisfaction, to the jittery, hollow feeling of a Twitter binge. Feel the difference between the earned reward and the cheap hit.
I think I'm going to try the stopping rule first, the cold shower. I might need to build up to that.
That's fair. But remember, the discomfort is the point.
Before we sign off, I want to leave everyone with a final thought that came up in the research. It's this concept of hardship inoculation.
This is a powerful idea to end on.
It's the idea that by avoiding all discomfort, by numbing every single moment of boredom or stress with a screen, we are actually making ourselves more fragile. We are lowering our pain threshold.
We are.
So maybe the path to happiness isn't about feeling good all the time. Maybe it's about getting better at tolerating a little bit of pain.
And realizing that on the other side of that pain is the satisfaction we've been looking for all along.
Something to think about the next time you reach for your pocket. Thanks for diving in with us. See you next time.